Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to 2 Minute Warning. This is the high-paced American football podcast in which the time is in short supply, but the opinions are not. Unless, of course, you are Matt, who will have to keep most of his opinions to himself because he's lost his voice and is not feeling very well. But he's here, not only in spirit, but he's physically here as well, and he will predict along with us in pictorial form, like some kind of semaphore instructor on a airport. I don't know, some kind of sign language type thing. In his stead, as a second voice, I'm joined by Duff Valley. Hey, Duff.
Hello.
It's been a while since I've seen you. I can't think the last time when I saw you.
It feels like forever.
It does. At least 20 minutes or so
gotta be.
Since we were last live together. Yeah. But thank you for stepping in.
No worries.
It'll be great to have you, I am sure, as it always is. And you joined us last for week 1 prediction, I want to say, this year.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, and so we'll have some rounding up to do from a little.
Did I not step in? Have I not stepped in at some other point?
I think it was just that first
Was
week.
It just
actually.
the first week?
Yeah.
Cool.
I think we had you on standby for another one when I wasn't well, perhaps, but yeah, who knows? I don't remember things. We never know.
Me remember not so good.
But we will get to a little wager that we placed in that week 1 meeting at some point.
Indeed.
I'm sure. I'm sure you will want to mention it more so than me because it very much worked in your favour.
Oh yeah.
But for now, we're going to get ready for week 11 in the NFL. We'll do a bit of news first. Would you like to kick us off with that discussion?
Yeah. Well, since the last time you guys recorded this show, we got our answer of where OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr., was going to go. He signed a 1-year deal worth $4.25 million with the Rams and made his debut against the 49ers last week. And, well, it wasn't the greatest start. And he only managed to get 18 yards on 2 completions. What do we think of the new home of OBJ?
So it wasn't a place that either of us predicted at the Rams, really. And I guess that was because the Rams are pretty stacked already. Did not expect them to want to add anybody else. Didn't think they could afford to add anybody else. I'm really not sure how they're managing to do this in terms of cap space and that kind of thing. Didn't make a massive impact last week, as you mentioned, but I wouldn't necessarily say that that's the end of OBJ and that we're not going to get anything out of him at the Rams. He'd been in the facility for a matter of days before starting in that game. I think we'll start to see more action from him this week, at least. I don't think it'll take long for him to bed in. And their current number 2 receiver, I've forgotten his name, has been taken out, is on IR for the rest of the season. So they needed somebody to fill that gap anyway. It's just kismet that Odell Beckham will be that person. I mean, you obviously remember the glory days of Odell Beckham. How did you think the move?
Oh yes, I would like to see. I'd like to see him kind of get back to his best. For us, he was absolutely brilliant. Absolutely, some of the one-handed catches and everything. I'd love to see that back because that was good. My thing is, I said you guys were surprised he went to the Rams. I know Seattle were quite highly in it for him to start with, to go there. I mean, he said he wanted to go to either the Rams or the Packers. Arizona came looking. And, he was offered a heavy incentives for the Rams because they did not want anyone else to have him. So hopefully now he can bed into the team. We can see some good OBJ.
Yeah, I for one was very thankful for the Rams service in giving him more money so he didn't go to the Packers. That worked for me. In a thumb, Matt, OBJ to the Rams. Thumb up, thumb down. Oh dear.
Ooh.
That's a thumb down for those listening later in audio podcast form. Matt's not happy.
What
Perhaps
would
we'll
you
get...
have said to OBJ to the Pats?
Oh, he didn't want him at the
fair
Pats
enough.
even. Just isn't a fan of Odell Beckham Jr.
Nope.
There you go. There you go.
Okay. Glad I didn't put that jersey on then.
So we are now well beyond the halfway mark in the season, and things are hotting up even further in our prediction competition. So in an untimed down, I'll just get us up to date with all the scores and standings for what is currently my baby, the 2-minute warning mini Lombardi. And unlike on the effing racing show, Duff, I'm winning this one quite handedly right now. So I'm just getting that out there. I've got to win somewhere. And now, last week wasn't the greatest week for us predictions-wise. I got 4 correct. Matt got 4 correct. So the less said about that, the better, I think.
To be fair, it's been... I do another prediction with some mates, and the last 2 or 3 weeks have just been crazy.
They have, yeah. Week 9, 10, and I expect week 11 is going to be crazy as well.
Yeah, just all over the place.
It's been a while. Oh, and I've just noticed a yo from Jaeger. Hello, Jaeger. Welcome in. So, drawing currently in week 10, we add in you bet. The bets were, will Trevor Lawrence throw for more yards than Carson Wentz? We both said no. And we were spot on. He did not. Carson Wentz threw for a measly 180 yards, but Trevor Lawrence threw for an even more measly 162 yards. So that's a point each for us, brings it to 5 all for those that can math. And then in the second you bet from the Buccaneers-Washington football team game, the question was, will both teams score at least 2 touchdowns in the game? We both said yes. They both did. So we got a point each there too, which brought the week 10 total to an annoyingly tied 6 all. Add that in to everything else. The 2021 total to date is Jez, this guy, 98. Matt, that guy, yeah, I did it right, 85. So he's got a long way to go if he hopes to catch up, I would suggest.
So you're winning this one.
Mm-hmm.
You're losing the effing racing show.
Yeah.
Boo-hoo. And you're winning the main roster?
I'm currently winning the main roster, now known as the Main Event Podcast. Undergone a name change. And I will know after tonight whether I'm getting my other baby back, my championship belt on the Main Event Podcast, because Survivor Series is the last of this quarter in that competition.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So all I need to do is hold firm here, win over there, and then beat you in the last 2 races, and I can win it all.
But where are you gonna put them? You've got no shelves behind you.
I mean, I've got a hand for this. I'll put the belt on my shoulder and the steering wheel, I don't know, under my armpit or something. I will find a way, mate. Like, I'm not going to knock winning everything and having all of the swag to show for it.
Oh, I'm not going to let you. I'm not going to let you win everything.
Just try and stop me.
Oh, I will.
Welcome in Finite Project. Do you predict other things, like the weather, possibly? We don't need to predict the weather.
No, because you got the Duff cast.
Exactly. Something that you didn't get on the effing racing show today is that we have our resident weather expert who actually checks the radars and all of that technical stuff to not predict, but tell you what the weather will be. But
indeed,
not much use for weather really in the NFL, because it doesn't tend to affect them. They play in all weathers. We almost had a snow game last week, but it didn't happen. The Packers game was going to be a snow game, but it
was it
up at the last
Bills
second.
last year? Was it Bills Dolphins where they had to literally scrape off the snow just to check the lines? And
I don't remember. It happens quite a lot.
Things. Yeah.
It happens more frequently than you'd expect, really. But I do love a snow
upstate
game.
New York really gets really snowy.
Yeah. No, I hope we get a snow game. I would like at some point to recreate the classic scene from one of the old Detroit games with who was it? It was Megatron. Calvin Johnson just face planted and skidded straight through the snow. And then when he came up, his face cage was just a mass of snow, which is just one of the greatest scenes in NFL history as far as I'm concerned. So maybe we'll get it. Maybe we'll get it tonight, although perhaps
Indeed.
not. Yeah. Could you tell me what it's going to be like tomorrow? Asked Corey. Well, maybe in a podcast dedicated to the weather. Message him on Discord.
People just shout out where they're from, and I tell them the weather.
Yeah.
It's going to be called the Look Out of the Window podcast.
Boom. Yeah, I like it. Shall we crack on with the show?
So, week 11 got underway on Thursday night with the New England Patriots put an absolute beat down on the Atlanta Falcons. 25 to diddly squat. Let's put 2 minutes on the clock and see what we think.
I mean, what a beautiful week for Matt to not have his voice. I mean, can you imagine how insufferable he'd have been having to talk about a 25-0 drudging? What a great week to not have him with a voice. So
it's worth an extra point.
No, I wouldn't go that far. Definitely wouldn't go that far. So now is the part where I have to talk positively about the Patriots, and it really pains me to do so. But with the term "the Patriot Way" bandied around quite a lot, especially in the last 10 years, I think it's fair to say that the 2021 Patriot Way seems to be stiff defense and fantastic coaching, because this team all of a sudden has become something special. And it's not because they've just got one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time for once. They've actually worked for it. Mac Jones given plenty of time in the pocket. They really managed him well. He only really has to complete short passes and just not turn the ball over. And the Patriots defense are on fire. They got 4 interceptions last week. So they're just doing everything right at the moment. Did you see the game?
Yeah. Thought Matt Ryan's pass protection was absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. They tried a lot of screens and like shallow crosses and that just to quickly get it out of his hands, but even that wasn't enough. It just dire. And the Falcons as well. What was with the penalties? Ridiculous amounts of penalties. What is it? They gave the Patriots 4 of their 20 first downs via penalty. I mean, come on, that was just terrible. All out. I'm not going to say anything nice about the Pats. I'm just going to slag off the Falcons.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean that's one option.
Yeah.
The thing that got me is that it didn't need to be a shutout. They penaltied their way out of the 3 points that would have been something on the board for them. I'm sure if you are from any of the other teams in the NFC South, you'd love to see it, but I would have much rather to see the Falcons give the Patriots a drudging myself.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we move on to today's games, and here is a drudging that I'm not massively looking forward to. In our first slate of games, 6 p.m. UK time, 1 p.m. Eastern in the States, we kick off with the Ravens at the Bears. And you can start saying nice things about the Bears. 2 minutes.
Okay, firstly, Ravens. Potentially without Lamar Jackson, which could fall into the Bears' hands here. We saw last week what had to have been one of the worst games for the Ravens in a very, very long time, losing out to the Dolphins. I mean, what can you say about that? If they keep that up, then the Bears are going to be strong. They don't have Khalil Mack this week following his season-ending foot injury. Oh, so not foot injury, it's foot surgery, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah.
That he had. And yeah, with Jackson out, I can see the Bears potentially doing it. They can't have 2 absolute bad games in a row, but I think they could be on the back foot and the Bears could capitalize on it. And I know you're going to want to say a lot about the Bears.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think this is something that could really work in the Bears' favor. Jackson's a game time decision. We may even get the answer as we're live on air now. We're nearing that time. If Jackson can't go, it's Tyler Huntley. I thought that RG3 was still their backup, but it turns out they released him in the off season, so he's long gone. The thing is, it would just be so Chicago Bears to not have Jackson in and still get absolutely drudged by a random backup that nobody's heard of, and just generally throw away the game themselves. So that's so Ravens. Thanks for that, Harmstone. Yeah, good reference. So I don't like to do this, but I'm going to do my prediction with a caveat. Bears if Jackson is out. Ravens if he's in. It was right there. Yeah. And Matt is throwing out his predictions in pictorial form, and his first prediction goes to the Bears. Now, is that Bears regardless, or if Jackson's out? Just Bears regardless. Okay, cool. He's got more faith in my Chicago Bears than I do.
So, for the perspective of points, are you going Ravens?
It's as it stands there with the caveat. It's all down to
That's cheeky.
I know I'm a bit cheeky like that.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. Yeah, I wouldn't let you get away with that if it was Formula One.
But you would if you learned the last time I did this, when it was whether Dak Prescott was gonna start against the Vikings. I went Cowboys if Dak Prescott is in, otherwise Vikings. So therefore Dak was out. I went the Vikings and got screwed over by myself because the Cowboys annihilated the Vikings anyway, even without Dak Prescott.
Oh, well, that's fine then.
I often play myself, Duff. So
perfect. Right.
Speaking of Vikings, though.
Yes, we have the Packers at the Vikings for the next game, and 2 minutes on the clock. What do you think of your favourites, the Packers?
Yeah, my 32nd favourite NFL team, the Green Bay Packers. I'm not really going to talk about the Packers in much the same way that you didn't want to praise the Patriots. So I'm going to spend all this time talking about the Vikings. And I don't hate them quite as much. And it was nice to see Kirk Cousins step out of his funk against the Chargers last week. 294 yards and 2 touchdowns in a victory over what is a good team, even with them having a few troubles at quarterback here and there. Cousins hit Justin Jefferson 9 times for 143 yards, so that's starting to click again. The Packers' past defense are actually having a low-key great year, so Cousins will have some work to do there, and he will also need to lean on his running game a little bit. Packers not so good at defending the rush. They allow 107 yards per game. That's 13th in the NFL. So in the words of Gold Rush's resident Norseman, Tony Beats, I'm going to say, let's make it happening. Vikings with the upset.
Ooh, I can see this being one of the best games of the week. I think it's going to be close. Rodgers and Devontae Adams are set to go for the Packers. So I'll talk a little bit at least about the Packers. They're without their running back, Aaron Jones, but they do have A.J. Dillon, who's no slouch. So I can see it being very, very close. But the Vikings, I think, are desperate to get this one. But I don't know. Like you said, they had a good victory over the Chargers. But I think I'm going to go Packers on this one this week. I think they've just got it.
Matt is with you. He's holding up his obnoxious green and yellow G sign for the Packers. Yeah. I mean, that's what my brain said, but I don't often listen to my brain. It's just a troublemaker when it all comes down to it.
Oh, fair enough.
Especially as comes to the Packers. Our fact of the week comes from Corey, Fine Art Project. The phrase to lick someone or something into shape comes from when a bear's mother licks their cubs. They believe that their children are born as formless lumps and need to be licked into shape.
Someone's been watching Russell Howard.
It's a bear reference. That's all I care about.
Yeah. And breaking news: Alonso is under investigation for his third podium place for speeding under the virtual safety car.
There you go. That's the kind of breaking news.
Any of those people that were, breaking news on a completely different sport podcast. Yes.
Yeah, so hopefully
but
next
we
week
have people that were in the last one.
That's true, yeah. Hopefully on the effing racing show next time we can announce whether Lamar Jackson started against the Bears or something like that, just to even the score.
2 weeks after.
Yeah. And by the way, did you know that? Yes, indeed. But we will stumble on. Watch it, Tamsin. We will stumble on to our next game, which is the Indianapolis Colts heading to upstate New York, as you referenced earlier, to face the Buffalo Bills. 2 minutes.
Yeah, the Bills returned to form in Week 10 after their loss to the Jaguars the week before, and an absolute drubbing from the Jets. So hopefully that will bring them back. The Colts live and die by the running game, I think we can safely say. And it's my friend John Taylor. When running back John Taylor rushes for 100 yards or more, the Colts win. And I think I can see that this week with Buffalo, how they've been. I don't know about you, but I kind of get a feeling that upstate New York is on a bit of a losing streak at the moment. I don't know what you think.
So does that mean you're going Colts?
Yes.
Ooh. Okay. No, I'm not with you. I have not been very high on this Colts team all year, and I have been maybe more high on the Bills team than I should have been, and I'm going to continue that streak. They did Bills things last week. They absolutely annihilated the Jets. 4 interceptions of Mike White from a pass defense that is first in the NFL, so that eliminates that option for Carson Wentz, I would say. You're right. Running game is a different story. Jonathan Taylor has been getting it done on the ground. He's had 5 100-yard games in their last 7. And the Bills aren't as good as at defending the rush as they are defending the pass. A measly 3rd in the NFL rather than 1st. And but I think that difference will be nominal, and they'll make it up. So yeah, Bills for me to win. This is where Matt holds up a Bills sign. Yes, he does. Yeah, that was inevitable. So you're out on your own there with the Colt stuff.
No, I like to be different.
Good, because you are definitely different.
Oh yeah. Right. That then leads us on to an interesting game of the Detroit Lions at Cleveland Browns. 2 minutes on the clock. Go.
Yeah, it's a very different game nowadays than this was 10 years ago. This would have been absolute poopsville 10 years ago. I don't know if it's going to be a whole lot different today, actually, now that I mention that. The Lions are obviously still bad. They're a lot better than their record suggests, and they finally did not lose last week. Had to happen at some point. But the Browns are in a steady decline that I think started against the Patriots and has not really abated. And the QBs are getting sacked a lot. Last week, 5 sacks were allowed on the combination of Baker Mayfield and Case Keenum. The Lions, again, didn't lose, but they did that against a Mason Rudolph-led Steelers team that probably couldn't have beaten one of the local teams from down the road either. The benefit this week is that Chubb is back. Add him to D'Ernest Johnson. Maybe get some running game going. Play some balanced football. I think they get the W. I'm going Browns.
Nice. Well, at least we know now that this season we won't have the first 0-17 in NFL history because of that horrendous game last week where we got a tie. But yeah, I mean, they haven't won since week 13 of last season, the Lions. So I don't know. That's definitely going to play into it, obviously. But I think the Browns might hit the gas pedal here and take everything for all it's worth, rather than just kind of sit back and take it easy. I think they're trying to hit hard for playoff football. So equally, same for me, Browns, but just pushing a bit harder.
And Matt is also going Browns. Yeah. I think now's a good time to put up an embarrassing kind of loss for their opponent if you're the Browns, the ones that they've been receiving for the last couple of weeks. So yeah. You've got to get those big wins when you can. And I think we unanimously decided that it's going to happen. Watch us all be wrong. Moving on to the next game. The Washington football team will head down to Carolina to face Cam Newton's Panthers. Didn't think I'd say that again. 2 minutes on the clock.
So here we've got a team in the Panthers that are paying Cam's replacement. They're paying Cam's replacement's replacement, and they're paying Cam to replace the replacement's replacement.
Yeah.
So, good start. I mean, what can you say? It was great last week when he got that first touchdown, came up to the camera. I'm back. Perfect. I mean, he's just shown that he's got what he needs for that team. I mean, Christian McCaffrey, what a game. I mean, you look at the highlights and it's just him tearing through on every play. I mean, absolutely brilliant. I mean, this is why 2 years ago he was all over my fantasy team. I don't know what happened last year, but this year he seems to be back. Cam seemed to have just brought that fire back out of him. I'd go Panthers any game, I think, at the moment.
Yeah. I don't think I would any game, and I see what you're saying, but I think the difference really is Christian McCaffrey. And what happens to the Panthers when Christian McCaffrey goes down is that they lose. Without Christian McCaffrey, they just don't have the formula. It doesn't matter who's at quarterback. The games that they won with Darnold, McCaffrey was there. The games that they lost with Darnold, McCaffrey wasn't there. He is the linchpin in that. They are expected to have him tonight. Whether that lasts the entire game remains to be seen. He doesn't seem to be holding together all that well. But maybe finally he can last an entire game or last a stretch of games. I'm going Panthers too, but reluctantly.
Ooh.
And Matt goes for Washington. I think Matt's a bit of a closet Washington football team fan. He very often picks the Washington football team. And being that he can't really disagree with me right now, I'm going to say that Matt definitely is a closet Washington football team fan. Oh, I see what you've done there. Well done. For those listening in podcast form, he held up a massive tick and put his thumbs up to completely agree with everything that I said without any argument whatsoever.
I concur.
Good. I'm glad we could really put that to bed. And we'll move on.
So, the next game we've got is the Texans at the Titans. So 2 minutes on the clock. What do you say for this one?
This is one of those games where I'm not sure we'll need the full 2 minutes to discuss it. I think it's quite cut and dry. The Titans are coming off a bye. The Texans are also coming off a bye, but I think that means more for the Titans than it does the Texans. Apart from that weird moment where they got beaten by the Jets, the Titans are pretty much unstoppable and are on fire. They're 7-0 against playoff teams from last season, 2020 playoff teams, whereas the Texans are still struggling, even though they thought their fortunes would turn around a little bit once Tyrod Taylor came back. and got back in the starting lineup. That really hasn't happened. There's even talk of benching him and putting Davis Mills back in there because he seemed to get a little bit more success out of that offense, even though he was not ready to lead an NFL offense. So Titans, it's easy for me.
Yeah, I think with Landry, Simmons, and Autry in their backfield, I think Texans offense are going to massively struggle with this one. I think it's going to be probably the biggest jobbing of the week. Even with the Lions playing today, I still think this will probably be a bigger jobbing. I don't know anyone that isn't going to go Titans all the way for this one.
Well, let's find out. Matt, would you like to hold up your sign? Nope, he's going Titans too. Yeah. Yeah. Wait, what's that? He held up a sign for the Texans. Oh wow, Matt!
So yeah,
unbelievable! What a bold move. Okay, well there you go. We really didn't need that time. We'll just let the time expire. It's much easier than me having to do anything, to be honest. Matt went for the Titans. We all went for the Titans. And Tyrod Taylor goes off to cry in the corner. Moving on. The next game we have, still in this early 6 p.m. slot. It does seem there are a lot more of these games than 9 p.m. games this week, but make of that what you will. We head down to Florida, as do the San Francisco 49ers, when they face the Jacksonville Jaguars. 2 minutes. Over to you, Duff.
Well, talking of whitewashers and drubbins like we did the last one, I think this is probably going to be something similar. The Niners offense came to life last week in week 10, scoring 31 points against a quality Rams team. Wins against quality opponents have kind of been missing, but San Francisco has taken care of business, and that's what I like. Jacksonville has thrived for a few weeks, but I think that charisma is going to run out this week. I think the Niners get a much needed win and help them towards the playoff race.
Yeah, it's difficult to argue that. I'm going to come straight out and say 49ers win, but if the Jags do have any hope of winning, I think they need to rely on James Robinson. He even in all of this chaos has had a string of very good games. And takes a lot of the relief from Trevor Lawrence, who is not having the best rookie season. In fact, I think of all the rookie quarterbacks, I think his numbers are the worst. A lot of people are placing that on his shoulders. I don't think it is entirely his fault. He needs help from the rest of his team. He's not necessarily getting that. Maybe it comes together at some point out of nowhere. I'm not sure it's today. But that said, I'm not sure I can make much sense of this 49ers team either. They're dominated by the Colts. They struggle against the Bears, even in a victory. And then they turn around in prime time and smash what is probably the number 2 team in the league right now in the Rams. It's got to be the defense stepping up. Maybe a few injuries coming back. But they picked up 2 interceptions on Matt Stafford, and that got it done. Same again this week. And 49ers for Matt as well. A clean sweep once again.
Boom.
One game that was exciting to another game that's thoroughly exciting, right, Duff?
Oh, how can you say that? We've got the 3-7 Miami Dolphins against the 2-7 New York Jets. This is gonna be a game that happens today. Well, so Miami, well, no one expected last week. No one expected a complete shutdown of Lamar Jackson.
No.
That was incredible. They're definitely a lot less of a challenge with Joe Flacco this week. But Miami's questions have always been on offense. And I don't know, Tua has been looking good as well, as we saw for the last 2 weeks. He should be starting this week, so that should be good. Can he make the most of the opportunity and do as he has before and get a win for the Dolphins, knowing the Jets? I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say Miami win. The Jets are probably going to be terrible.
Yeah. I suppose if you look at any team that the Jets can pick up a win over, this Miami team might be it. But the Dolphins are coming off 2 straight wins, as you said. I think Tua is the reason for that, in addition to the defense. He overcame an injury last week to get in the game and put a hurting on the Ravens. And even there's a little bit of hope for the Bears, even if Lamar Jackson does play. They showed last week that it can be done.
Yes.
But yeah, I expect Tua to continue his steady rise against the Jets' passing defense that is last in the NFL in passer rating. 108.1 is the number that they have formed, and they're 31st in yards per attempt at 8.4. Joe Flacco is not Mike White, or at least not a week 9 Mike White that's going to light it up. Could be the restart he needs for his career, but seems unlikely. I'm going Dolphins. What does Matt choose? Matt is going for Tuna as well. I bet it really hurt him to print out that image. As a Patriots fan, I'm sure it would have hurt him more to print out the Jets one, actually. Did you print out both just in case? Have you strewn Jets logos all over your wall now to show your love for them? Yeah, I thought you might have done. Yeah. And Matt has also done some research and found that Lamar Jackson is inactive.
Aha.
I'm now looking forward to this game. So I am going Bears. Yes, yeah. We can firm that up and say that I am going Bears. Yeah. Nice. It's nice of you to pop in here and keep me honest, Duff, you know? If it's one thing Matt lacks, it's keeping me honest.
Ah. So I hear.
I do push him around a little bit, shall we say. Pick on him. But speaking of picking on, it's been happening a lot to opponents of the Eagles in recent weeks. Will it happen to the Saints as they travel to Philadelphia to face them this week? 2 minutes on the clock. Kick us off.
Well, being a Giants fan, I can happily say I'm going the Saints because I could never pick the Eagles.
You're not printing off any Eagles logos yourself then?
Ooh, that definitely ain't happening.
Not even to burn them?
Definitely. No, I'll save that. I'm nice. I'm not psychotic. We'll leave it there. But no, I think the Saints have done well. Worse this season than I was expecting them from week 1. I had them oh, I can't swear. And so but the Eagles are 4-6, the same as us at the moment. It's a terrible league, but I'm definitely going to go for the loss. I just don't feel how they've been playing so far this season can give them the win over the Saints. So, yeah. Saints all the way.
Matt disagreed with you. He held up the Eagles sign, much to your chagrin there, and I'm going Eagles as well. I don't think this Eagles team are pretending anymore. There was a point at which they tried to conceal the fact that they were focusing on the run game and that they were a run-first team, but they've done away with the pretense now. They topped a very good Broncos team with 40 carries for 214 yards on the ground last week. And when you look at their victories, they're 3-1 in games where they've had more than 170 rushing yards. So a steady dose of ground. It's going to be tough to do against the number 1 rated Saints rush defense. But perhaps that sets Jalen Hurts up to add a bit more balance. Try and keep things honest. So yeah, I'm going Eagles with an honourable mention to Trevor Siemian, who I think is might be the long-term answer in New Orleans.
We know what Matt's going for. Boo.
Now we move into the
Right.
9
Yeah.
p.m. ish slot. That I'm
Always
sure
the ish.
Matt is gutted to not be able to say. He likes saying 9 p.m. ish. It's one of his favourite things in life.
Well, it's
That
in the mix of
and
7
the
hours
Jets.
of commercial-free football if you're watching Red Zone.
Yes, indeed. What's our
So
first
yeah,
game?
we have the Bengals at Las Vegas Raiders. So, out of all the news that's happened since I was last on the show, let's talk about the game.
And then I think we'll go into what you were about to go into after that. Yeah. So here's 2 minutes. Let's talk about the game first. And the Raiders last week played the all important role of let's let Patrick Mahomes get back on track. Someone had to do it, and the Raiders stepped up to do it. They let him throw for 406 yards and 5 touchdowns, which is not just a beating. That's a beating and a drubbing all rolled into one. Based on who's come into town today in the Cincinnati Bengals, I think Joe Burrow's numbers have been increasing week on week. He's a guy that really loves to wang the ball around, so expect him to try and exploit that Raiders team in the same method or in the same way that Mahomes did last week. And he's averaging 277 yards a game so far. Nowhere near the 406 that Mahomes got, but should be enough to beat that Raiders team, I would suggest. Quick note that the Bengals also listened to me when I said that Joe Mixon needs to be mixed in a lot more. Since I told them that on this show, he has had 7 touchdowns in his last 4 games. So you're welcome, Cincinnati. Bengals win.
There you go. Well, I think the Raiders had to let Kansas win after being beat the week before by the Giants. So I mean,
yeah, if you're
what can
bad,
you
you just
say
got to
there?
prove you're bad, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. We got I'm going Bengals as well. Cincinnati return from a nice, probably much needed rest after back-to-back disappointing losses. I think this is the team at the moment. I mean, the Raiders started off great this season. Don't get me wrong, but after the last 2 losses to the Raiders, I think Cincinnati can come back from the bye week and get the job done. Definitely, Bengals all the way.
Yeah, and Matt held up his Bengals sign while you were talking as well. So that's a clean sweep for the 3 of us, all going Bengals. Now, a Raiders-related digression, if you will. Would you like to set up what you were about to start talking about?
Yes, the start of the season, I came up with this crazy idea of we should do like a season-long what ifs. Pick something crazy, like we did at the start of the FNF1 season, of something mind-numbingly ridiculous that you wouldn't expect to happen in the season. That if our thing came true, the other person would have to buy us a Subway sandwich. And my one was that in some sort of spectacular glory, a coach this season would have to resign because it had been, I think it's been a fair few number of years since, I mean, managers have been sacked, fired, all that kind of stuff, but it'd been absolutely ages since, I keep saying manager, I'm getting
A
used
head
to
coach.
soccer, head coach had actually resigned because of something. And bless them, the Raiders, now in Vegas, one of my favourite cities in the world. Vegas helped me along and helped me win this bet with the craziness that went on with John Gruden.
Yeah, and really should have thought about this a bit better, really, considering you came down to visit me last week and
Yep.
we had food. I should have bought you the sub then, really, instead of having chip
To be
shop.
fair, you bought me fish and chips, so I think that counts as even.
Yeah, does that count?
Yeah, definitely.
It was good fish and chips as well. It's
Oh,
very
it was
good
lovely.
fish and chips. Yeah. So
But yeah, I just
thank
thought
John Gruden for that.
Yeah, thank you, John Gruden, for your racist fish and chips.
Welcome, always be
It's
chatting.
a show.
How you
Just
doing?
goes to show that those crazy bets can come in. And who would have thought, out of all the teams, I didn't think it was going to be the Raiders.
No, no, I didn't think it was going to happen at all, to be honest, which is why I kind of laughed at you when you predicted
Yeah.
it. And I can't even remember what my prediction was. So I'm going to have to go back and look, and maybe you will be buying me fish and chips slash
You never
Subway
know.
at
Yeah.
some point by the end of the season. Yeah, yeah.
But
But
yeah, what a crazy one.
nice to get it done before the end of the season.
Oh yeah, definitely. And to get paid by
Almost
the end of the
immediately.
season as well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Perfect.
If you are just tuning in, the 2-minute warning this week, I have Duff as our special guest because Matt is down there without a voice, so he's communicating through sign to make sure he gets his predictions in case there is any hope of him defeating me this season. There's none, but he's here anyway, just in case. So just give us a sign, Matt. How are you feeling about the show so far?
I'd love it if he only printed out the cross.
There you go.
Hey,
It's a tick. Yeah,
that'll
yeah.
do.
Matt is silent. This might be the best episode yet, right? I know. And we talked about the Patriots drubbing the Falcons as well, and he didn't get to
I
say a
know.
thing about it. It's beautiful. We've been enjoying it. Long may it continue. Now, let's crack on. Our next game up for
Indeed.
discussion might be the game of the week, in my opinion, and that is the Dallas Cowboys heading over to face the refreshed Patrick Mahomes and his Kansas City Chiefs. 2 minutes on the clock.
I definitely think here we've got probably two of the best quarterbacks in the league. Well, I don't want to say in the league at the moment because Mahomes has been terrible at the start, but coming back in, if he can become the Mahomes that we know he is against Dak Prescott, this is going to be one hell of a game. I mean, the Cowboys rebounded from their Week 9 loss with a 43-3 absolute drubbing of the Falcons, which I know everyone seems to be doing at the moment. But in the mindset of a team, coming through from that is going to put you on a massive high. So, like you said, I think it's going to be probably one of that, and the Packers game will be the best games of the week. But I think I'm still going to even though how much it pains me being a Giants fan, I think I'm going to have to go Cowboys. I think they're going to have the edge.
Yeah, and it's going to be down to a very close edge in this game, I think.
Mhm.
That it could truly go either way. Mahomes will be able to prove that last week wasn't a fluke and that he is back in top form. Two great QBs in Mahomes and Prescott. We've got two great receiving tandems in Hill and Kelsey on one side and Lamb and Cooper on the other. You've got standouts on defense in Diggs and Parsons, but that's just with the Cowboys. And I think that's where the difference is. It's on defense. The Chiefs' defense just doesn't have the same level going for them as Dallas. They don't have a Trayvon Diggs getting an interception in almost every game. They don't have a sensational rookie in Micah Parsons who's shutting down the run quite as consistently. And consistency is key. Cowboys have been consistent even without Dak Prescott. So I'm going Cowboys as well, as does Matt. So that's two signs that Duff wants to burn now. The Eagles one and the Cowboys one.
But I picked them.
You did.
What can I say?
And, maybe Matt's printed out a Giants logo for the Monday night game. We'll get to that soon. Is that on Sky? Us Always Be Chatting. I don't know. You'd assume that would be the game. Like, of the 9 p.m. games, it's Bengals, Raiders, Cowboys, Chiefs, and the game we're about to discuss in the Cardinals and Seahawks. You'd assume that is America's game of the week, and therefore will be the game that Sky have picked up. But I don't know for sure. Is the answer to that question? Doesn't really affect me too much. And on that note, Mr. Duff, shall we move into our last game in that 9 p.m.-ish slot?
We shall indeed, where the Arizona Cardinals face the Seattle Seahawks. 2 minutes, rock and roll.
So, Wilson had a tough game against the Packers last week in his return, and that wasn't for lack of trying, really. He got plenty of targets of his top receivers, but in what is probably shared blame, I think everyone can take a bit of responsibility for it. The connections just weren't there. Call it rust, call it what you will. It didn't happen for them. If they haven't got that back on track this week, they're going to struggle mightily against the Cardinals' pass defense. They're only allowing 204 yards per game through the air. That's 5th in the NFL. The bright spot might be, and maybe we can get an update on this as well. Kyler Murray is a game-time decision once again. Colt McCoy's first week in relief of him was wonderful. He shined. Last week, kind of fell down a pit. 107 yards and an interception against Carolina. So, I don't know. I think Murray starts. I think he's back. And if he does, Cardinals win.
Yeah, I think the good thing for me is that Arizona's defense is healthy, which is going to make a lot of difference. With Wilson coming back, that last week, he only completed 50% of his passes and 2 interceptions. So, I don't know. With Arizona's defense being healthy, it's going to be Cardinals all the way for me. I just don't think Wilson's going to be able to push through. I think there's going to be a fair few sacks in this one.
Yeah, and it was interesting watching back and seeing what Wilson was trying to get done against the Packers. I mean, that Packers pass defense is good. We mentioned that earlier, but there were also moments where he was putting the ball in position to be caught, and it just wasn't happening. So we'll see if they've got that chemistry back. Matt says that Murray is still a game-time decision. That decision has not been made. Obviously, the game's a bit later, and he picks the Cardinals to win this one. So we're all going Cardinals there. Moving swiftly on. It's the end of the 9 p.m.-ish games. We're moving to late night for us here in the UK. Sunday night football this week is the Pittsburgh Steelers at the LA Chargers. 2 minutes on the clock. Are you ready for some... No, it's Monday night. Never mind. What's the Sunday night one? Can't even remember the song.
Sunday night is Steelers Chargers. Oh, what?
I've been waiting all day for Sunday night. There we go.
Yeah.
Ruined it. 2 minutes.
Right. I don't actually have any notes on this one, but I think this is going to be another one of those interesting games. The Steelers and the Chargers have been teams this season, especially at the start of the season. For me, I thought it could go either way for them, and they've kind of feel like they've kind of been middle of the road throughout most of it. It's just they haven't popped like they have in previous seasons, and I think this is going to be one of those boring games where it could be fairly even. Like we saw, Big Ben seems to be, I don't know, just seems to have, I think he should have retired. I just don't think it's gone well for him this season at all. And should have called it quits and let someone else have a go. But yeah, I've gone Chargers for this one.
Fair enough. I too am not impressed with Big Ben this season. I think that all started when he was tackled by a blade of grass in weeks 2 or 3. I can't remember which one it was. He was walking, then he wasn't walking, and he was down. So not impressed with Big Ben. Which Justin Herbert will we see this week, though, on the other side of the ball? Against the Vikings, we saw bad Justin, 195 yards and no touchdowns. And we have seen bad Justin in 3 of the last 4 games. He's under 75 in passer rating in those 3. And those are the games where the Chargers have struggled and lost many of them after their hot start. I think to win, the Steelers need to use Najee Harris more. But Najee Harris needs to stop pretending that he didn't know that you could tie in the NFL, because that is ludicrous. Like, nobody's buying that. Stop trying to get headlines by saying you didn't know that you could tie. Nonsense. Steelers win, though. And
Matt's going with me.
Matt's going with the Bolts. There you go. John Cal 99. Welcome in. Thank you for the follow. I have a question. You're the 5th stream I've asked. Okay, that probably doesn't bode well, but give us your question, and we'll see if it's suitable for public airing. Okay, it is. I have Derek Carr. My opponent has Waller and Renfro. Would you allow someone's roster to determine who you would play at QB? I have Tua. It's a good question, and it is something that has happened to me a fair amount in the past. I don't play fantasy football anymore. I got sick of it and kind of rage quit it. But I have had that many times where you have the QB and then your opponent has the receiver. So you're basically nullifying the points. Everything that you get, they're probably going to get if they're the number one target. And when we're talking about Las Vegas, Waller and Renfro are that target. But at the same time, if it's split between those two, they're not both going to get points. So one of those people would end up with less points than the other, if you understand my meaning. If it's not all, like if you had Mahomes on one side and Tyreek Hill on the other, for example, that would be different. But I wouldn't start Derek Carr this week, regardless of who they had.
No.
What do you think, Duff?
I agree.
You just agree?
Yeah. It's been a while since I've played fantasy because, yeah, I just got massively annoyed with it as well. Massively rage quit, threw my laptop across the room, and that's why I have a new one. But, it's an awkward situation when that happens. I had a few games with it, and I think it's going to happen to. At some point, it's going to happen to most people. So I think you've just got to suck it up and hope the rest of your players can get you some points.
Yeah, and always be chatting in the chat. I don't think it matters. I would take into account and just play the better QB. Yeah. The problem is between Carr and Tua this week. There's a question of who that better QB is. I suppose Tua against the Jets. You'd probably take a quarterback playing the Jets any day over the Carr,
especially over Miami's last win and the Raiders' last 2 losses.
I just don't
have to.
I just don't expect the Raiders to do very well at all against the Bengals. Whereas I would expect, even in a Dolphins loss to the Jets, I would expect that to be high scoring and there to be more points involved there. Personally, that's just my 2 cents. Always be chatting disagrees and would play Carr. Matt, I don't know how you're going to tell us, but maybe hold a thumb up if you'd play Carr. There you go. Matt would play Carr. So many different answers. Yeah, I hope we helped you in no particular fashion there, John. We gave you a lot of information that you're probably going to have to process and make a decision for yourself, unfortunately. But thank you for your question. It gave us a good discussion, if nothing else. And shall we move into a game that I'm sure you're very excited about, as will always be chatting in the chat, the Monday Night Football game.
Indeed, where the New York Giants get to do some lovely Monday Night Football at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Giants v Brady.
So, I'm one of you is going to be upset with my answer here. Giants are off a bye. Tampa are on a 2-game losing streak and are struggling without Gronk and Antonio Brown. That hasn't changed this week. Antonio Brown may be missing for a lot longer if some of the accusations against him are true. The Giants, for their faults, have been pretty good against the pass so far this season. They're tied for 8th in the league on yards per attempt at 7. And Daniel Jones has been improving game on game. In the last 3 games, he's had 4 touchdowns and 1 interception. That accounts for half of his touchdown total this year, so that really shows the growth that's happened in the second half of the season to date. That said, the offense still isn't lighting the world on fire. He has just been getting enough done with what the Giants' defense have been doing. This is a new week. Everyone's rested on the Giants, and the Bucs are struggling with injuries. They're not quite so rested. Brady seems to be having an absolute mare. So I'm calling a Giants upset. I think Giants win.
They are your second team.
They are my second team. Yep.
So Brady's teams have been defeated in back-to-back games 13 times, including last week's, over the teams that of the years that he's played. So obviously I'm going to say I think we can do it. Like you said, DJ has been getting better week on week. It's taken quite a while, to be fair, for him to kind of bed in, as it were. But hopefully he can do an Eli and we can beat the Bucks. Saquon's questionable, so hopefully we can see him in the game at some point. I think he'll make a massive difference against the Bucks. And like you said, through injuries and potentially, hopefully, a season out for Antonio Brown, as he might have been fiddling COVID pass cards and selling them on to other people, which is a new story I saw this week, which is
just when
makes Aaron Rodgers look good.
Just when you thought Antonio Brown had come out of the crazy house, this story. Yeah.
It just adds a new level to Antonio Brown.
I'm going to assume you called the time out there because the time has long expired. And
why not?
You just kept talking Giants, but yeah.
Yeah.
So are you going with your heart and saying Giants?
Oh, always. I think the key for the Giants this season, as we've just done well, if we can do the Bucks, the rest of the games, maybe it's going to be hard against the Cowboys, but if we can do this, I think it stands us in good stead, because the rest of the season, I think there's a lot of winnable games.
Fair enough.
That can put us ahead of we're the same as the Eagles at the moment, and we're only, I think the Washington only have one more win, so I'm not going to say it, but I think it could put us above them with the rest of the games, the teams we have this season.
What you're trying to say is you're in a trash division and you only need like 3 wins to be able to get to the playoffs, and this could be
pretty
one
much,
of them. Yeah. I'll just come out and say it for you, mate. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. We are in the worst division of the entire NFL.
Leith is here, getting into the spirit. Nah, you're wrong, mate. Bucks gonna crush Giants. Yeah.
You wish.
And Always Be Chatting obviously was going to interject here and say, you're all crazy. Bucks are going to crush you. I'll put a sub on it, mate.
Ooh, yeah, right then.
Would you like to take that bet?
Done. Why not?
Okay. A sub is decided. And Matt is also, not also, because we've both differed. Matt is going Bucks. Probably because he's not insane, but I feel it in my bones that the upset is coming. Hopefully. And it will be a massive upset, but still.
Yeah. I think the Giants can do it. I think they're in the right place at the moment to be able to do it.
I think more importantly, the Bucks are in the wrong place to prevent it.
Exactly, which puts us in the right place.
Because they're in the wrong
Someone
place.
had to be, and it's going to be us.
Fair enough. Right. That does it for our game predictions. We're going to move into our final segment, which is the segment that's a lot of fun. And you got to do first stuff before Matt. So welcome back to it.
I did.
This is You Bet. For those tuning in for the first time, You Bet is a segment in which we take certain betting odds from popular betting sites and we flatly decide yes or no. Will these prospects happen? And it adds to our prediction competition standings. And some weeks has been the difference. Not so much last week, because we both got them both right and it just furthered the draw. But this week, I'm sure will be different. And my first bet proposition comes from the Dallas Cowboys at Kansas City Chiefs game. The question is, will there be over 71 points in the game? What do you think, Duff?
Yes. I think it's going to be a good game. Both teams are going to be out for blood, and I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Definitely.
Yeah. I keep swinging back and forth on this. Like I set this up in the notes this morning, and I keep going back and forth with my answer. So now I suppose it's the time where I've just got to pick one, and I'm gonna follow your logic. I think it is going to be high scoring. It could go the other way, and the defenses step up, but I don't think that's going to be the case with Kansas City, especially. And with that in mind, Dallas may score 60 of those points themselves. So I am going to go, yes, there are going to be over 71 points in this game. Matt, what say you? You say yes as well. Cool. And the holding up of the sign is, true you bet meta, isn't it? Like that really brings it all
massively.
Home. Yeah. So I'm glad that
from our very own Matthew Kelly down there.
Yeah.
Right, so
what was the bet? I got distracted. Oh dear. Well, here's another one, but wait, there's more.
So, obviously, we've said we think the Giants are going to beat the Bucks. So my one comes from that game, and I've gone Evans, Engram, and Gronk all to score 1+ touchdowns in this game.
Well, I'm going to throw a spanner in your works immediately there. I don't think
Gronk's not playing.
Yeah, I think it was a game time decision. Do we know if Gronk's playing? Hang on. Gronk.
We've got a cross.
He's got a cross.
Yeah. So he's not playing.
No, I don't think he is, and we won't know until tomorrow anyway, for sure. So, would you like to just remove Gronk from that bet and roll with it, or add in a different player? Fournette.
Okay, let's go all out. Let's go. First Bucks touchdown scorer, Chris Godwin. First Giants touchdown scorer, Saquon Barkley.
Okay. So both of these conditions need to happen for the bet to be met. Okay. Run that by me again. Chris Godwin first on the Bucks and Saquon Barkley first on the Giants.
Yep.
I'm going to go no. I think Fournette will be the first scorer on the Bucks, and another receiver or tight end for the Giants. I don't think there's much distinction between them, personally. So I'm going to go no with that one.
Interesting.
Matt, what do you think? You're going to go no as well. And Duff, what do you think of your own bet?
I'm going to say yes. I think 22-1 is good odds.
Well, you can put some money on that then.
I can, yeah.
Whichever betting service you found. Most touchdowns ever, says Aletha. So that's where you're going.
Then you'll want to hit at 4-1. I was tempted with this one at 4-1. Each team to score 25+ points. The Sky Bet thinks it's going to be a high-scoring game.
What was the odds on it? 4-1.
4-1.
Yeah, those aren't particularly good odds for that. I don't think. Not as the bettee, if you will. That's great odds for them because they'll probably easily make some money off that when people stupidly put their money on it. But not me. Not today. Yeah.
Well, the odds currently are in the Bucks' favour. I'll tell you that now. Well, they are against us.
That's not surprising. That's how it'll be an upset. It can't be an upset unless the Bucks are favoured.
It's not an upset. We're going to win. We know it.
And that brings
all the others are wrong.
Our little show to a close. Thank you, Duff, for stepping in while Matt had no voice. I'm sure he appreciates not having to croak all the way through it because I'd have made him. I'm that kind of bully. I'm like, no days off. You get your butt in here and you croak your way through it. So you've really done him a service. It's been great to have you back. Second time this season, maybe third if we eventually remember what the other one was, but definitely second. Second. If you have missed any portion of the show and you'd like to go back and watch it, you can do so on Twitch, on Facebook, or on YouTube. YouTube and Facebook are at The Jez Show. Twitch is at Jez Show Sports. Make sure you are following, subscribing, all of the various things that you can do with all of those. Or you can listen in podcast form, in audio form, on Anchor, Spotify, Radio Public, Breaker, Pocket Cast, more to come, at anchor.fm/2-minute-warning. Now, as I press the button to roll out the music, that we have a tradition on this show in which I say goodbye, Matt, and Matt says goodbye, Matt. And we have a tradition on the effing racing show where I will invite you to say goodbye, and you will do so in the native language of wherever that race is. So I'm going to mix it up and say goodbye, Duff, and then you're going to do something. I'm just going to leave you freestyle it, and I have no idea where this is going to go, but I'm sure it will be hilarious. So first of all, say goodbye, Matt. We'll assume you say goodbye, Matt, and it's now time to go. Say goodbye, Duff.
Goodbye, Matthew.
Didn't disappoint. Thank you very much. Good night.